Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Othree. Welcome back to Platicas. This is Platicas number 7. Platica number 7. I'm right here with my mentor, former mentor. I still call him a mentor. My boy Alex. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Alex Aldana. I'm actually the executive director of the Pico Youth Family Center in Santa Monica. So, I've been doing that for about over 20 years now. It blows my mind when I think about it. Um, but I basically started working there when I was 16, and now I'm closer to 40. So it's pretty crazy, that whole journey. But we can get into it later.
Yeah. Um, to begin every Platica, at least like the introduction Platica, I like to talk about family, right? It's a topic that is real close to my heart, just because I never really talked about my family, right? In a very like open way until recently, and so I always wanna. I get curious about listening to other people talk about their family. Um, so I'm gonna ask you, Alex, what is your definition of family?
I mean, family, a lot of times, especially like in the Latino community, a lot of times family could be chosen, and obviously, like I'm grateful to have be surrounded by a great family, both by blood and extended family through just the nature of the work I do. So I feel like I'm very blessed, and I consider a lot of people family. I have extended family, here in LA. I have family in Fresno. I have family in Mexico. So I feel like I'm a part of an extended family, and also I have family at PYFC. So I feel like I have like four different families. So I feel very blessed in that way, and I feel like I come from an environment and a family that was had to go through a lot of things, and we become very resilient throughout our history, and I'm very proud of that. So I'm proud of the family of where I come from, and because they've mentored me and given me a lot throughout life. So I'm very grateful to them, and yeah, where would I be without my family?
You said your family's from Mexico. Let's get into the roots of where your ancestors come from. Where does Alex Aldana's roots starting?
Okay, so my parents are from Jalisco, Mexico. My dad is from Tepatitlan, Jalisco. My mom is from Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco. You know, two very different towns. Tepatitlan is in the highlands of Jalisco. They call them Los Altos de Jalisco, and Puerto Vallarta is more of a. It used to be a fisherman's town, but now it's become over the last like 30, 40 years, it's become a very tourist town. It's become like like a vacation spot. It's similar to Cancun. So they're two very different towns. My dad grew up like on a farm, and my mom also like grew up. Well, both my parents grew up in poverty, but they kind of come from different backgrounds. My mom, her dad was like a bricklayer. He made bricks, and so did the entire family. So my mom started working at a very young age, and so did my dad. So but they had different experiences growing up. But when they came here to the U.S., their first job was like farm working. Up in near San Jose. They worked in the strawberry fields. So they educated me about that experience and the importance of you know um farm workers and the United Farm Workers Union. I think I might have said that wrong actually. It's the United Farm Workers. So I learned about that when I was young, and I kind of carry that with me ever since like middle school, high school. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but
Nah, yeah, that was beautiful, man. That was,
yeah, that's
and
thank you, I
then
appreciate it.
where do you come into the picture? Like, how many siblings do you have? Where do you fall into that line? Are you an only child? Let's get into that.
Actually, I'm the youngest of five. I have two brothers and two sisters. Um, but by the time I was born, all of my siblings were already like older. I had two brothers were like my two brothers were 18 and 19 respectively. One of my sisters was like 16, and then the one that's closest to me was 14 years old already when I was born. So they already had their own lives. When I was born, so I kind of grew up in a way like almost like an only child because I didn't really grow up around them. So I didn't really have that the same camaraderie that they did. So I feel like in a lot of ways I did grow up on myself, almost like an only child, even though I had older siblings. I didn't see them as much, and yeah, so it was kind of a unique experience for me.
And when you were born, your family lived in Inglewood, correct? Or in Santa Monica?
No, my family lived in the Pico neighborhood in Santa Monica. When my family moved to LA, my parents actually moved to Venice first in the early 1970s, and then around the mid 70s to 80s, they moved to Santa Monica to the Pico neighborhood, right there next to Santa Monica College on 17th and Delaware, and that's where we lived for like the next 20 years, until later on, with when my dad bought a house in Inglewood, like in around 91, 92. That's when I moved to Inglewood. But later on in life, like around 2000, I moved back to Santa Monica and was there for like 3 4 years, and then I moved back to Inglewood. So it's been, and there was a period there where I lived in Mexico for 2 years when I was 7 years old to 9 years old, and I also lived in Culver City, West LA. So there was a lot of moving around. I feel like that's like a similar experience for a lot of people in LA. We have to move because of different like economic factors, gentrification, and different factors. So I feel like my experience is not that different from other people's. Especially working class families, black and brown families that experience gentrification in the neighborhoods. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we learn from our different experiences, and just having to move around, and every city and community we live in, we learn something from. And I feel like I learned different things from every community I lived in.
You're West LA baby, dog. That's all it is, dog. You're West LA
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, I'm on the west side. Yeah, from the west side.
You
That's
said
for sure.
you said you were way younger than your older siblings, right? And I've
Yeah.
known you for a long time, and you were one of the first fools that really like sat me down and gave me real knowledge on like the roots of hip hop and like underground real conscious hip hop, right? How different was that? Like, do your siblings listen to that kind of music, or is that like something that is only unique to you?
Nah, my siblings don't listen to underground hip hop. They might listen to like a little bit like of commercial hip hop, but not really underground hip hop. I kind of learned the first person that really introduced me to underground hip hop was one of my best friends in middle school. His name was Pablo Loza, and he was my neighbor in middle school. And so like he would come to my school. I mean, he would come to my house after school, and we would listen to NWA, Easy E, a bunch of dope music, like even the DOC. That was kind of my first introduction to underground hip hop. Was like in middle school, sixth grade. When I was 12 years old, and then from there I started doing my own research, and I just got that passion, that itch to like learn more about hip hop and underground hip hop. So I kind of taught myself after that. And I started I started meeting other people that were into like underground hip hop, and that's kind of how my interest grew from there.
Yeah, it wasn't like for me it was kind of like the same, right? Because I grew up in obviously first generation Mexican American. Grew up parents bumping straight like Mexican oldies, like that kind of music, the fucking temerarios, like
Mhm.
cumbias and just romanticas, los bookies,
Yeah,
shit, that kind of music, right? And so
yeah.
when I got introduced to rap, it was around the same time I started learning English in like the early 2000s. The
Mm.
first foods I was listening to was like Eminem, 50 Cent, but then as time went on in elementary school, I got into like the whole West Coast gangster shit, right? Where at the
Yeah,
time it was already no longer what was considered mainstream because the Chronic, I mean the Chronic 2000 was like the Chronic fucking the one he dropped in was it 99, right? He dropped it in 99 with
yeah,
Explosive
yeah.
and
It
all
was
those
in
kinds of songs.
Yeah, that was in '99.
Um that was only a couple years before like that had been dropped a couple years before I started learning English. I was a
Mm-hmm.
little kid when that album dropped, but talking about like NWA's greatest hits, like that kind of music, Bone Thugs and West Coast gangster shit. And then the middle school, all Chicano rap, right? So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
until high school where I started listening to a lot of that more boom bap shit, right? And then
Yeah.
um it wasn't until I went like I started doing a little bit of my own research when I started doing my project on socially conscious hip hop. But I remember when you were showing me a lot of like underground rap fools like Dilated, right? Because obviously like
Mm-hmm.
we hear about Dilated, but we don't listen to them. And you're like, no, listen
Right.
to Dilated. I was already like into Psycho Realm, but you were like, no, listen to Psycho Realm more, dog. You know what I'm saying? You were telling me to listen to Psycho Realm, Dilated. You were telling me to listen to Tumex. I remember you were like, listen to Tumex. You kind of sound like Tumex. I remember people were telling me you sound like Tumex when you spit.
Yeah.
So like Visionaries, like that kind of underground music. Murs, remember we went to that Murs concert at
Yeah,
Amoeba.
it was I think it was Rhyme Fest. We might have gone to Rhyme Fest.
I don't think we went to Rhymefest, but we went to it was at Amoeba. Fool, I don't know if you remember
Oh,
this.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
That Murs was performing at Amoeba Records right there when it was still on
Yeah.
when it was still on Sunset. So like I'm
Yeah.
talking about like that underground LA that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Almost
Mm.
like um I'm trying to think of other fools, dog. Like that Tagger underground stoner
Well,
shit fool.
I remember you were really into J. Rue the Damager.
Oh yeah. Jeru. Yeah, I started listening to a lot of that Gangstar Foundation, like those
Yeah.
fools, the Alpha Raw, became a big fan of Alpha Raw.
Yeah, yeah. He's dope.
Um and so it wasn't like till I met you and other fools like where they're like, nah, listen to these fools. Cause
Yeah.
you obviously you learn about the icons like Biggie and Mobb Deep and fucking
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg and Tupac, but you're like, nah, fool, go listen to fucking uh the Alcoholics, go listen to Afro Raw, go listen
Yeah.
to Jeru, go listen to fucking go
Mm.
deep into the Fugees, go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I probably talked about Gangstar too, because I'm a big fan of
no,
Guru and
yeah,
Premier.
Gangstar, because I remember when I first listened to Gangstar, it was like in middle school. But
Yeah.
um I don't think I became. I think I became a bigger fan of Gangstar when I started going to the PY.
You're still there?
Right. You know what I'm saying? And they were
It
just
might
like
be
one of
my
those
internet.
things.
Shit. Hold.
Now you good for you? All right. I think it's mine.
Yeah,
It's
well,
cool though. Like it's yeah,
it might be mine.
nah, that's cool. Ain't no thing. But yeah, Gangstar fool. Gangstar is a perfect perfect example of a legendary group that I might have known about, but it wasn't like a part of my listen. It wasn't like on my playlist and shit. So I give you props
Yeah,
for that. And so I always wonder, like, because we talked about hip hop, but I never really asked you like where did that love from hip hop really start? Because this might be a little sidetrack from the family conversation, but I remember you threw a hip hop event in Santa Monica, right? Or
yeah,
you were
yeah.
one of the main organizers. It was the One Nation. What was it called?
One Nation Hip Hop Summit. We started that in 2007, and we did it in. We actually did three hip hop summits. We did one in 2007, 2009, and the last one we did was 2010. And the concept of one around that was the whole theme around it was like using hip hop to educate and empower students. It was the One Nation Hip Hop Summit was like an educational conference and concert. And the first year in 2007, we had KRS-One perform. We had the Visionaries, um, and a lot of other artists, like underground artists. In 2009, it was more like a conference, but we did have Dilated was there. Evidence and Rocket Hour Science. They came through and blessed the conference. They were on our hip hop panel. And so, we got a chance to talk to them and ask them questions about their career. We also had Kid Frost on the panel. I think we even had Chang Weinsberg from Gorilla Union, which was at the time Gorilla Union was the biggest hip hop promoter in LA and probably the country. Um, uh, Gorilla Union was responsible for organizing Rock the Bells, the festival, later on they got sued. They got sued by LL Cool J, and LL Cool J took back the rights to Rock the Bells, the
Dang.
Rock the Bells festival. So now LL Cool J owns that. Um, so that's a cool little story right there. But I still have a lot of respect for Chang and everything he did for hip hop, especially the underground scene. Um, because through that, like LA was introduced to Merce on a bigger level. Like the Pay Dues Festival happened because of like Gorilla Union and Chang Weisberg. So I'm very grateful to him and all of the work he did. Chang was the first person that reunited Wu Tang back in like 2001. You know, and he brought like Rage Against the Machine back together. So I think he did a lot for the movement. And he doesn't always get the credit for it because of what happened with LL. But it's all good. It's all love.
I see. I didn't know that shit, dog. I started going to PY 2012, so the last one that finished was a couple years before I actually went there. So I never got to experience
Yeah. Oh,
the
I
One
forgot to
Nation.
talk. Yeah, I forgot to talk about what we did in 2010. In 2010, we had a P Rock and CL Smooth perform. We also had Onyx and X Clan perform at our last hip hop summit. So that was real cool. I have a picture with all of them. I gotta send it to you. Um,
Yeah, I've
maybe we
never
could
seen that
put,
shit. That's dope.
yeah, maybe we could put that picture in the podcast when I send it to you.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put that shit
Um,
down. Ain't no
yeah,
thing, dog. You feel me?
yeah. So I mean, basically, like through the hip hop summit, I was living my dream, because my dream was always to do something like that, to bring like a big music festival to my neighborhood. We were able to do it in Santa Monica at Santa Monica High School in Barnum Hall. And not many people could say that they did that. That they lived their dream. Um, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of. We had like we had like a team of like 15 people working on this event. We would meet every week. We had like a committee. So like shout out to everybody on the committee. You know, and a lot of them are still my friends. We still keep in touch. So that work brought us together.
To tie it back to the whole conversation about family, because I know hip hop has a certain um I don't want to say it's like a certain stigma for in the Mexican community, right? When especially like when parents don't understand it, right? Because I remember when I was a kid, my parents don't speak English, and you listen to hip hop and they hear the shit that we're listening to, and it's all fucking, it's not good shit, dog. Like that
Yeah,
gangster shit, it wasn't good shit. You feel me? Then you look
yeah,
at the images, the tattoos, the guns, bro. Like there's a certain negative image that,
yeah,
quite frankly, dog, like doesn't represent the full, image of hip hop. It's just a part of it, but it's not like the full image of what hip hop is. I think hip hop itself is such a big, like it's hard to just put one picture to it. But there is some fucking street elements tied to it. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
so my question to you is, when you started your journey, when you were listening to hip hop, because at the time, like you said, you were listening to Easy E, MC Ren, and all that shit, NWA. Were your parents approving of it, or were they like, nah, mijo, stop listening to that shit?
No, well, my parents didn't really know what I was listening to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I would come home I would come home after school and nobody was home. Like my dad was working. My mom, she was in Mexico. Like, so I didn't have no adult supervision, when I came home after school. So I would like listen to whatever I wanted to, watch whatever I wanted to watch. I had a black box back in the day, so like the black box was like, you can watch all the
Right.
channels and stuff, all the movies and shit. So yeah, basically my house was like the kick it house. Everybody would come to my house after school and kick it, and we would listen to music. Shit, I'll tell you a crazy story. I was probably the first, like back in '96, like around my middle school age. Like I was one of the first kids on my block with internet.
Ooh.
Like we didn't have internet back in the day. Like I was one of the few kids that had internet. So like back in '96, like it was like something brand new. And so like a lot of the homies, a lot of my friends at the time, they loved coming over to just like hop on the internet. And like we would go on to the AOL chat rooms, like
Yeah.
and cause a ruckus.
That's crazy, dog. So, I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
little young, too young for that, dog. But I've heard stories about those AOL chat rooms. That finally feel like the very, very end when everything had died down. But um, I think for me it was more like Yahoo Messenger,
Yeah, so
AIM,
so
and all
so
that shit.
it's the same thing. Yahoo Messenger is like AOL chat. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Um,
So you kind of get the idea.
and so since you didn't have any adult supervision, um, were there any like concerts for like that out here? Like at least like on the west side, like hip hop concerts that y'all would go to and shit?
Nah, not that I would go to. I think the closest like venue that was doing a lot of shows back in the day was probably like the El Rey Theater, which is like a mid city. That was probably like the closest venue that I can think of. Other than that, a lot of the big shows happened like in San Bernardino or like even in like downtown LA. But at that time, to me, like downtown LA felt like far away. When I was in middle school, high school, that shit felt far away. So like I didn't really go to those shows. I went to like if there was a show at the El Rey, I might go, or somewhere else closer. But yeah, I didn't really start going to shows like until like after high school, which is pretty crazy, you know.
So did at any point for your family ever find out the kind of shit you were up to or not?
They kind of found out when I started like going out to different hip hop shows and even organizing my own hip hop shows. That's
Oh
when they
shit. Yeah.
yeah, that's when they found out how passionate about I was about it, you know. Because a lot of times, you know, like the shows in like at 2 in the morning, like I would have to call my brother to pick me up, you know. So then that's when my family used to like. That's when they realized, oh, this kid's going to like a bunch of different shows, you know. So yeah, it wasn't until like later on, you know, that they realized like how involved and into what I was, you know.
That's just crazy, dog.
Yeah,
Hey,
when
at
they
least
would
you
have
had a
to,
good experience though, you know?
yeah, yeah, they didn't realize it. So like they have to pick me up at 2 in the morning from like a random spot in LA, you know.
That shit. You know, my parents, I don't think my parents ever picked me up. I was always one of those fools like, I'm gonna make it home somehow, some way, dog. And shit,
Yeah,
dog, that's like I mean, for me, dog, like my parents were around fool, but having a language barrier made it so fucking easy to do whatever the fuck I wanted. When they came to watching like videos,
yeah,
or like watching certain movies, dog, like the rated R movies, like pothead movies, like gang movies
yeah,
and shit like that. It was so easy just because like all we had to do was make up some shit. It's like, oh, it's for school or some shit, you know? Like, oh, I'm doing this
yeah,
for a
yeah,
project. And the music, you know, I mean, we had headphones or whatever, you know, you listen to that shit on your headphones or earphones. I mean, I wouldn't really want to have like loud ass speakers and shit like that. So we weren't really bumping music like that. They
yeah,
knew we listened to rap music, but the only rap music that they ever heard us listening to was the one on the radio. And
yeah.
obviously, the ones on the radio, the curse words are bleeped
It's
off, the
like
N
yeah,
word
it's
is,
censored.
you know, censored. But you know, once we found out, you know, like about LimeWire, you know,
Yeah.
once we found out about LimeWire, it was a fucking rap, dog. We didn't give a fuck about the radio.
Yeah.
We're like boom, 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 and then a couple years later, YouTube, fool, and then the whole YouTube explosion happened, and it
Yeah.
was a fucking rap, dog. But yeah, that's dope for that. Well, it's dope that you had internet, dog, in '96. You know what I'm saying? It's dope that you had to experience that shit behind your parents' back or whatever, because hip
Yeah.
hop is fucking beautiful, dog. Hip hop is
Well,
beautiful.
it was actually like thanks to my dad too, because he was into the internet, you know. And my dad was big into like the chat rooms back in the day, you know. And yeah, so it was kind of cool, you know. And also when I was in middle school, I used to have a boombox. So like I would play CDs on my boombox, play it loud, you know. So my dad would hear it when he would come home, you know, and he would tell me to turn it down or whatever. Um, and then sometimes I would play it in the car, and he would want me to like not listen to it or whatever. But that was the extent of it, you know. Um, Sometimes I would ask him, I would tell him, hey, I would tell him like, hey, let's go to Best Buy, you know, and because I wanted to buy like some CDs, I wanted to buy some music, and then I would go to Best Buy to buy the music, you know, and yeah, so that was my experience.
I'm gonna tell you a funny ass story, dog. When I finished, I think I've told this a couple times already, but when I finished fifth grade,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was like real big into NWA, right? Like real big into fucking like the whole West Coast gangster shit. Didn't really relate to it. I'm fucking 10 years old, right? You know, I'm still fucking trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing, dog. I'm still kind of like a good kid. Still don't have that freedom to go and do rebellious shit. This is before I started smoking and drinking, whatever.
Yeah.
Full. My parents, for my culmination when I finished fifth grade, dog, they gave me NWA's greatest hits CD, dog.
Oh shit.
I'm 10 years old, fool. Literally bumping fuck the police loud as fuck, dog, in my house, fool. Thinking I'm a fucking G or some shit, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I had good grades, dog. I graduated like
Yeah.
second in my class and I was doing good things. So they were just like, fuck it, es lo que quiere. They didn't understand a single thing, obviously, except like obviously when you hear fucking easy call, say some bitches or say fuck, the word fuck or fuck the police, certain
Yeah.
curse words. That's all they understood. You feel me? But to me, dog, like I'll never forget when they bought me that NWA's greatest hits CD, dog. I feel like there was a couple CDs that we got when I was a kid, dog, like that were kind of questionable for like if I'm my dad, my mom right now, I'd be like, why the fuck did you buy me this shit? Like the fucking the G Unit, the Beg for Mercy album, you know, the
That's
first G
crazy.
Unit album that they fucking dropped, that one,
Yeah.
the 8 Mile soundtrack CD. Um, there was like a yeah, was we didn't really they didn't really buy us that many CDs because you know once LimeWire came out, we were burning our own CDs.
Yeah.
Um, but they stopped tripping, fool. They literally stopped tripping about the music the moment that they figured out that we could make bootleg CDs. So once I started making bootleg CDs for my dad, it was a wrap, dog. Because now at that point he couldn't say shit. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because like oh I'm doing this shit like you know he's helping me out. Like it was one of those things where it's like fuck it, dog. Like whatever. And then once I started making music, it was at that point it was like whatever. You know, like it just became whatever. So that's
Mm-hmm.
dope, man. That's fucking dope. But let's move on from family and well, hip hop is a big part of your career. The hip hop, the One Nation Summit, and let's get into the PY, right? Because the PY is a big part of your life. You're obviously the executive director now. Um,
Yeah.
so let's talk about Alex at the beginning of his journey. You were 16 years old, right? When you said you started going to the PY.
Yeah, I was 16 and the youth center opened in 2002. So like I was at the grand opening, and I really like from there like I started creating, I started creating like building relationships with everybody there, with all the other high school students. And one of the first programs we started as a group was like the youth leadership council. And what the youth leadership council was, like, we were just a group of like teenagers, high school students, and we kind of we basically like tried to make our dreams real, so like a lot of us had of ambitions of like doing different field trips or programs. um and one of the first projects that I worked on was like a poetry slam, and then from there, from the poetry slam, it went to like a mentoring program, which we called the youth to youth mentoring program, which was like high school students would go mentor like fifth grade students at a local elementary school. We would go every Friday to John Muir Elementary School, which was down the street from the youth center, and we would go mentor like fifth grade students. We would help them with their homework once a week, like every Friday after school. We would go. So I helped start that program, and then from there, obviously it led to like the One Nation Hip Hop Summit and other projects. Kind of it snowballed into different events and projects. But by my real start, my real, I started to gain my voice in the Youth Leadership Council, which was like a space for us to create and be leaders and create some of the first programs at PYFC.
Whose idea was it to like bring in a fucking recording studio to the PY?
Um, I believe that was Oscar's idea, but it might have been a collective idea of like Ernie G from Proper Dose and Oscar, because they were friends from high school. And Ernie G from Proper Dose was our first music instructor at PYFC back in the day. For those who don't know who Ernie G is, he's like a famous like West Side producer and DJ from the group Proper Dose. They used to have a radio show on Power 106. They released a couple albums, I think through Sony Records, and they were both from Santa Monica. And Ernie G was the producer. He was the DJ of Proper Dose, and he was also PYFC's first music teacher in the studio. You know, so and Ernie G was a friend of Oscar's from high school. And that's kind of how the music program started. So it was definitely I want to say Oscar's idea, which was probably it was helped by Ernie G to launch it. You know,
Did you ever did you ever sit down and write a verse, Alex?
no, I was more like I never like wrote bars. I was more like I would write poetry and shit. You know, like a slam poet. Um, I did it a lot in high school, and then once I graduated from high school, I stopped. But I've always been into hip hop, and I've written verses, but I've never like. Well, actually, I'll take that back. I might have spit something in the early days when we first started the studio, but I don't think we ever released it.
Oh damn. Alex on the
Yeah,
mic, dog. That should have been
I
dope.
think yeah, because now that I think of it, I did record something, but I don't think we ever released it.
When you were going to the PY dog, when it was barely like, becoming what it became or what it has become, like what was like your life like, dog, during this time? Like how you were like at 16 and then you were say you were doing the youth leadership council. What was your life like during like at 20, dog, when you were going to the PY?
At 20, I was probably I was going to SMC Santa Monica College at the time, so you know I think I was trying to find myself to see what path I wanted to take, in my career and just like with education. So I always saw myself like going to SMC and then transferring after 2 years. I did end up transferring, but it took me 4 years instead of 2 years. Um, so like I kind of always wanted to. That was my goal, was to go to college and shit. So when I transferred the first time, I transferred to UCLA. Um, but once I got to UCLA, I had some issues, and I wasn't able to attend class at UCLA. So um, I think it was like around, trying to think what year it was, maybe like around 2008, when I got to UCLA, and then I had to drop out because of basically like UCLA wouldn't let me enroll in classes. So I'm like, fuck this, and I quit school for like 6 years.
Woo!
Yeah, so like from 2008 to 2014, 2015, I was out of school. And then I started taking like, so I had like a 6 year hiatus from college. Um, I was just fed up. I was really discouraged, by my experience at UCLA. So, I was like, fuck going to school, fuck all this. And it wasn't until like 6, 7 years later that I got motivated to finish school. And I went back. I took a class at SMC first, and then I ended up transferring to Cal State LA. Um, and then after like 9 months, I graduated with my BA in sociology and Pan African Studies from Cal State LA. I applied to grad school at USC, um, in a master's business in a business master's program. At USC, I got in. This was like 2015 or 2016. I was at USC for 2 years. I graduated in 2018, and I actually just applied again to UCLA for a PhD program in educational leadership like 2 weeks ago. So I might be going back to UCLA.
Redemption arc,
Hopefully,
fool.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, which would be crazy. So I might actually be going back to UCLA in September.
That's dope, dog.
Yeah,
That's fucking dope, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
'cause that
I
shit
never
is
would. I never would have thought. If you asked me like a couple months ago, I thought I was done with school forever. And because I had told myself after I got my master's, I was done with school forever. You know, and then 2 weeks ago, I applied to a PhD
uh
program.
and when I met you, how old were you when I met you? I met you in 2012.
2012. So I was like 26 maybe.
So it was around that time, right? When you were office, you were in school when I met you. But um, we'll talk about that right in a bit. But you were
Well, I hadn't got back to school yet.
when
That
did
was like
public? Go ahead. Go. What do you want to say?
public allies. That was before I went back to school. I went back to school like 2 years later.
All right. So when did public allies happen? Because I met you when you were. It was a 1 year program, right? What is public allies? First of all.
Public Allies is a leadership development program through AmeriCorps, which is a federally funded program. I think it was started by Michelle Obama. So like Public Allies is like a paid internship, like a paid leadership development program, and that I was a part of from 2011 to 2013 because I reapplied after the first year, so I was actually in the program for 2 years. Um, yeah, so like it's a cool program, you know. Anybody that it's typically for like people that come in out of college that want to figure out what they want to do with their life and what career path they want to take. So a lot of like, you know, recent like high school graduates or college graduates apply to college public allies to like gain professional experience. That's what it's really for, is to gain professional experience working at a nonprofit organization like PYFC. So that was my experience with public allies.
Do you feel like the public allies experience motivated you to go back to college?
Uh yes and no. It motivated me because when you finish like the first year of the program with public allies, they give you an educational stipend, you know, and in order for you to get the educational stipend, you have to enroll in community college. So that was kind of it was in a way it did get me thinking about going back to college because I'm like, damn, I have to enroll to get this educational award,
Yeah.
you know, which was like $7,500 or whatever it was. I think that's how much it was. So yeah, it kind of got me back to school in a way, but I wasn't really motivated to finish at the time. It wasn't like a year or two later that I really got motivated to go back to school and finish.
And then you get a random ass email, dog, in fucking like September or October of 2011, right? You get a random ass
Yeah.
email, fool, from a fucking random ass fool talking about, hey, dog, you think I could interview you for my project?
Yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that shit?
I
And
do.
I remember I sent Alex because I went to school, right? Uh, project based learning was like the fucking like the motto. We had projects. My project was on socially conscious hip hop and its effect on society, and how we could use hip hop for uplifting and for positive, positive what's it called? Just for just using positive words and shit like that, right? Um and I sent an email to like all these other organizations, and then my boy was like, "Hey, fool, hit up the PY, dog. I used to go there. I used to be an intern there. My
Yeah, I
mentor,
remember.
his name was Alex. Hit him up." And I was like, "Nah, nah, nah." And he had told me this like the first semester of no, it was my second semester. I forgot when the fuck he told me, but he had told me, dog, at some point, and I kept delaying it, delaying it, delaying it. And I started, hitting up all these other spots like Street Poets, Homies Unidos, like Homeboys, and I was trying to do like this gang intervention, youth intervention, with a little bit of hip hop. And then once I
Yeah,
started getting into the hip hop, using conscious, lyrics to uplift our peoples, black and brown youth, and just do positive stuff with hip hop, learning about the history of hip hop.
yeah.
And then that's when I was like, oh, fuck it, let me look into this.
Hmm.
Went on the website, Pico Youth and Family Center. I was like, oh, fucking Santa Monica. I remember I was thinking, I heard Pico. I was like, all right, fucking Pico Union, Psycho Realm. All right, fool, it's gonna be right here
Yeah,
down the block
yeah,
type shit, right? Hell no, dog. It's in the fucking by the beach next to the fucking the high school. I'm like, oh hell no. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do out there? You know, like this is where rich people are at. Fool, no shot they're gonna know what the
Yeah.
fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's what I used to think.
Mm-hmm.
Hit this fool. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Went on the website. You know, at the time, Oscar La Torre was the fucking the director, and there was all these other
Yeah.
fools, and he was like, I was looking for Alex Aldana. I was like, all right, boom, boom, unseed, whatever, right? And I hit him up. It was like a email interview, right? You remember this? It was like an email interview,
Yeah. 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 I remember.
and then we kept chopping it up. Then I got authorization from my school to go on a shadow day, and I went. It was like November. It was a couple days after Dia de los Muertos,
Mm-hmm.
November 2011. I pulled up. I was fucking confused, dog. I was in fucking shock. Fucking Dia de los Muertos, fucking decorations everywhere. There's a recording studio. Everybody in there is fucking raza, dog. There's a couple, black students in there, fool. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like I'm in shock, fool, because like obviously Santa Monica, it's a different. You hear Santa Monica, fool, it's a different picture. Wooty woo.
Yeah. You
I'm in
thought
this
it was
bit.
gonna be a bunch of white people.
Yeah, exactly. Fool. I thought it was gonna be a bunch of white people or just like rich people, fool. You know. And I was like, people with in sandals, fool, like getting ready to go to the
Yeah.
beach. Fool walk in there, dog. Fool banged out. Fool smelling like bud.
Yeah.
Fucking fools talking about alcohol and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? Fool, like like I'm trying to escape South Central. I'm trying to come here to do music in the, like in the studio, have a clean ass vibe. But I literally just stepped into another fucking South Central, a mini whatever. In my head, it was like a
Yeah.
mini South Central. Come to find out, the Pico neighborhood in Santa Monica has its own storied history for like its own, resilience and their power and
Yeah.
their history of like the power struggle between the city and the community. And I learned all this shit. They won. Boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom. Got cool with Alex. Then I was like, hey, fool, you think you could be my mentor? And I'll never forget this, dog. It was January 3rd, 2012. It was a Tuesday.
Wow.
It was a Tuesday. It was my first day back at school, I think. Yeah, I think we didn't go to school on Monday. It was my first day back at school, and I left. They used to let us go out early to lunch, so we could go to our internships and shit. So we'd get our lunch, we leave at like 1 o'clock, and I was like, "Popo," and this before the expo line was even a fucking thing, right? So I had to figure out
Yeah.
way to get there. Luckily for me, dog, I'm a mastermind on the metros and whoop de woo. I
Yeah.
got there, and this is the funniest story. The funniest story that Alex likes to tell about my first like 2 weeks at the PY. I swear, dog, like I was like amazed that they had a studio. I love the fact that there was fucking like a community, dog. I love the fact that it was like raza everywhere, the black and brown unity, fool, and everybody was all about love. And even if uh they weren't like really like welcoming, I wasn't really welcoming either. I looked a certain way, and then Alex kept telling me, what you kept telling me for like, hey, go to the studio, go meet some people. Go
Yeah.
to the studio, go meet some people.
Yeah. I
That shit
mean,
was funny.
in
Oh
in
man.
in my head, I knew you would get along with the guys in there. Like I knew you would click with like people like Chris and other people in there. So I knew that was the place for you to be because I feel like there was other like-minded individuals in the studio. And there was, you really connected with Chris and
And all them
Surreal.
fools that yeah.
All them.
So now my
Uh,
question to you is because I never really asked you this on a years later, different perspective, different mind state. Because I know you had like the fool that connected me with you, he was your intern, like, but that was like years prior, right?
yeah,
Like Juanito, when he was there, you were
yeah,
still in
Juan.
school, right?
I think he might have came in like a year or two before you, like maybe 2011, 2010. Because he's not that much older than you, right?
No, he's like my brother's age. My brother's 3.5 years older than me, so he's my brother's age.
Okay. So
Might
maybe
have been
maybe
there like because he remembers talking, but he remembers the hip hop summit.
yeah, okay. He might have been there for like 2009 when we did the one with the dilated people. Either that or 2010.
But he was your intern, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
were you prepared to have an intern at the time? Like, did you even know what the fuck an intern was?
Yeah, I mean, because we would periodically we would have like volunteers come in, and we would have to like show them the ropes, like give them orientation, and kind of help them out and understand the culture of PYFC, and how they can help, So I mean, I didn't have like an intern directly that worked with me, but I was used to like, talking to people and kind of like walking them through the process of like PYFC and the culture, and kind of just like bringing them into the family, because that's what it really was. Is like when you come into PYC, it's kind of like coming into someone's house and you become part of this family, Um, so that's what it was to me, and that's what I try to, engender into people is like, this is who we are, and we want to make you part of this movement, that's what I really stress to people. It's like bigger than individuals. It's really like a movement, and we want to make you part of the movement, you know. Um
And then when I hit you up, were you like, were you surprised or was it just like business as usual?
um I think you had mentioned in one of your emails that Juanito, and
Yeah,
of course I remembered Juanito, so I knew exactly what to expect, like the type
yeah.
of program you were in. I loved it, because I feel like we needed more of that. So, and then later on, I come to find out that your counselor, I think she was your counselor, Jane. She used to be a volunteer at PYFC. Like she was a
My
graduate
counselor.
student. Yeah. Was
Oh,
it
Joan.
Jane?
Joan.
Joan, Joan,
Yeah.
Joan.
Yeah, she was one of my
Yeah.
advisors. She wasn't my main advisor, but she was one of the well, they're called advisors. They used to be called advisors at my school, but they were technically teachers. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Joan was a like an intern at PYFC back in the day. Like she was a UCLA student, and she would intern with us back in the day. I think it was like maybe like 2006, 2007. So I remember her from back in the day, and we didn't realize that until later on. You know, but yeah. So I mean, the connections were there. The seeds were planted like long before you stepped into PYFC. It was like it was meant to be.
'Cause I'm pretty sure she's the one that told Juanito about the PY.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the case.
And then
Yeah,
Juanito told me, and then I told Ociel.
yeah. So she planted the seeds.
Yeah, that's dope. That was fucking when we figured that shit out, I was like, damn fool, like I thought it, like you cause like we're from out of town, right? Like we're from a whole different part of it.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, our experiences might have been similar, but it's a whole different fucking lifestyle. It's those different experience for living in South
yes.
Central,
South Central versus Santa Monica
Santa
type
Monica,
scene.
fool.
Yeah,
There's a different dynamic. But to know that there was like a lineage, in terms of like people that came from my high school or my high school don't exist anymore. To me, that
mm,
was beautiful and shit. And then being your intern, dog, I think to me, like looking back at it now, I think it was dope that you were my mentor, and because Surreal wasn't working there at the time, right? If Surreal would have been my mentor, or like if I was just a strictly like music intern, I don't
yeah,
think I would have had like such a passion and commitment to the overall center, right? To
mm.
the to be participating in like all the other shit.
The
Cause
protests and all that
yeah,
stuff.
to be a part of the protest, to be a part of the workshops, to be a part of the discussions, and to be a part of just like everything that wasn't related to the music. The music stuff obviously
Yeah,
was what kept me going and what kept me fucking, engaged. But I think to me, dog, being at the center, dog, just being there, like I could honestly say that it did save my life, dog, because yeah, fool, eventually I got cool with Chris and we were doing what we were doing, but we would still come back and I would sometimes stay after hours, dog, and kick it with Soul, dog, like when he would come from his holiday and shit like
Yeah.
that. But I think about it like if Soul was my mentor, I don't think I would have had this like. First of all, I wouldn't have been able to put the PY in my resume going into
Mm-mm.
college. I wouldn't have been as committed to it. So I'm blessed that you were my mentor, dog, because
Yeah.
not only did you teach me about the Pico neighborhood and you taught me about hip hop, you taught me about college and you taught me about sociology, fool, because that's what you were about. You
Yeah.
feel me? And so you were like you helped me with those hip hop and society presentations that I would put together with the lyric breakdowns and
Mm-hmm.
tying like the influence of hip hop into mainstream culture and shit like that. So that's dope, dog. Like to
Yeah.
to to look back at it now and be like, yeah, this fool Alex, dog. That's why I was hit you up, like boom, boom, fool. That's why.
I appreciate it, man. It's a blessing, just to think about all this stuff, and the impact, we can make in people's lives. And sometimes you don't even realize it. Sometimes you're just talking about your life or your experience, but you can still have an impact on somebody's life. And really, like, I don't try to I don't. That's one thing I don't. For me, like, I don't try to preach to anybody. I just talk to people and talk from my experience. Um. So I don't try to put myself like in a position where like, oh, I'm the teacher or whatever. And you're gonna listen to me. I just try to have conversations with people and try to talk to them about, these are like the two options you can go. You can go this route or you could go this route. But these are the decisions that you can make. And that's just how I go about life. And I really try to. I'm a big advocate of like, the Four Agreements. I don't know if you read that book.
I have it. I haven't
Um,
read it though.
yeah, so it talks about like, like there's these four agreements in life. Like be impeccable with your word, don't make assumptions, don't take anything personally, and always do your best. So I try to live by those four agreements, and I remind myself every day, like, hey, you know, don't take anything personally because sometimes people could talk crazy about you. Don't take it personal. That's something on their end, that they got to deal with. Um, so I just reflect on that, and reflect on like even some of the things you're telling me is like, man, I didn't realize I had this type of impact on you. Because I don't try to be like this high and mighty person. Like I just share like my life and personal experience with people.
You're probably just living in the moment. Like we're just in the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
it was a beautiful time.
Yeah,
And so the reason why I hit you up to be a part of the podcast was because like I saw the clip to this documentary that is being made about. Is it about your life or well, let's get into the documentary, fool? Because I come out in the documentary and I obviously talk about my experience being your intern in the documentary,
yeah,
but we already talked about like my part is gonna be it's gonna be summarized and we're gonna talk about it in the documentary. But I want to know
yeah.
what the fuck, like how did this come about? Like what's up with it, dog? Like what was the idea? Like let me know, fool.
Yeah, the documentary, it's the initial vision like started as I wanted to do like a documentary on PYFC, and to try to like capture like different stories, and kind of like the history of PYFC. So we started this process of like, searching for like who would be a good director for this documentary. So sometime last year, maybe like even a year and a half ago, we started interviewing like different film directors and documentarians, and I think I interviewed like six different like filmmakers, and I really wasn't feeling it. And then like on the seventh interview, I really connected with this filmmaker named Jeanette Godoy, um, because like my interview with her was more like a discussion. It wasn't really like we weren't even talking about like film concepts or anything. It was just she wanted to get to know me, like what I was about, like how did I get here, that type of thing. So we really connected on a personal level, and so that's how kind of like the process kind of started was my with my connection with Jeanette and her like fascination with my story of like starting at the PYFC when I was 16, and then kind of like starting as a volunteer and working my way up to like executive director. She was really like fascinated with that story, and additionally like she was like amazed that somebody with like a disability like myself, like I have cerebral palsy, that I'm doing all of this stuff. So like she really took a liking to my story and decided to make the whole pitch of the documentary kind of like centered around me, like the story of Alex within PYFC, like kind of like to show like if he could do it, you could do it too. And oh, he also belongs to this organization that does great work. So that's kind of how the story came about. Um, and then we started filming it back in June, with this amazing surf day. It was actually my first time surfing in my life, and it was actually the first time that I've been in the water in over 25 years. So I hadn't been in the water since I was like 13, you know. So for me, it was like a crazy experience, like a nerve wracking experience. Like I was nervous because I'm like, well, I've never surfed in my life. I haven't been in the water for like a long time. I'm like, how is this shit gonna go? I don't know, but I'm willing to take the ride. And it was like a roller coaster for me. I imagine that's how like a roller coaster feels like. When you go to Magic Mountain and you get on all those crazy rides, that's what it felt like to me to go surfing.
Yeah, I seen that
Um,
clip. I was like, what the fuck, homie?
yeah,
Like, what
so
the fuck?
so I caught like 20 waves in 20 minutes. I caught like 20 waves.
Oh, you were out
So
there, little kid
yes,
style, huh?
yeah. So they told me that that's a lot of waves to catch in like 20 minutes.
That was meant to be, fool.
Yeah, so it was crazy, and yeah, we got it. We got most of it on film, so that's the beautiful part that we're able to share with people. And the story is still developing. We're not finished with the documentary yet. We still have to a lot to film. Like you mentioned, we filmed the surf day. We've also like we had another day with all interviews, which you were a part of. We're gonna film like probably like two or three more scenes. We got to do family interviews with my family, and I wanna do something in my neighborhood. So we're gonna do something like in the Pico neighborhood.
Well, here dropping
And
spoilers and shit, or what, Alex? Okay,
one,
damn.
this is just my vision. We haven't shot it yet,
All right.
but I'm just sharing like part of the vision that I have. It may change. It may change, but that's kind of like what I want to see. You
Yeah,
know.
when I remember, I forgot what the fuck. I was going through a rough time in my life, though. I'm not even gonna lie to you, dog. Like, I was going through a big change, fool, spiritually, dog. Like mentally, like I was battling shit, and then I got a text message from a random number. I think it was like an email, fool, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like a documentary about Alex. I thought it was a scam. Way. I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was a scam. I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, nah.
Damn.
And that's why. Remember, I hit you up. I think I texted you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yo,
yeah. You text me.
I was like, "Yo, I got a email from this lady, Jeanette, like talking about she's doing a documentary about you. Is this true?" That shit was funny, dog. And this fool at least was
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, no, yeah, it's true. And I was like, all right, for sure. So I responded to her, did the interview. It was my first time ever doing something like that. It was crazy, fool. Like seeing the lights and the microphone, seeing all these people behind the camera. I don't, like if in my head, like if I'm gonna do something like that, I wanted to just be the interviewer, dog, and the people filming and the sound crew. But there was a bunch of other people there, so I'm not gonna say I was nervous, dog, but I was like, oh shit, dog. You feel me? Because I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, I wasn't, mentally, dog, I wasn't there.
Hmm.
But I was like, I'm gonna do it for my boy. Like he's my mentor. He helped me out a lot. So it was no hesitation for me. I didn't give a fuck if I
Yeah.
was going through it, dog. I didn't give a fuck if it was raining. Remember how it was raining that day,
That was the day that fucking the hurricane was supposed to hit and the
bro?
earthquake.
I was like, fuck it, and pulled up, seen cameras, dog, lights everywhere. Like she's asking me all these questions and shit. I felt like I was getting interrogated. Dog, it was crazy. It was dope. It was a cool
Yeah,
experience and shit.
you did a great job. You did a great job.
And so like,
Man.
all it takes is a little bit to get me rolling, dog. So honestly, I felt like I was in that bitch being a natural,
Hmm.
but at first I was like, fuck, dog, like, but it was dope. So it was a cool experience. But ever
Yeah.
since that day, I've always wanted to check in with you. Like what the fuck? Like what is this documentary about? Because you might have told me, fool. Like you might have told me that day, but I wasn't there, dog. Like my
Yeah.
mind was somewhere else and shit. But it's dope to
Yeah,
hear that
man.
they're making a
Well,
documentary about you and your life.
I'm grateful to you, because I feel like you had a lot of important things to share that I didn't even realize. Like some of the stories that you told, like I just reminisced because I had forgot about some of those stories, and just to hear them from you is so powerful.
Yeah, and then
Um,
bro, that like going through it, like at home mentally, and then going there, and she asking me like to relive these tough moments that I never talk about, like because we always talk about the cool shit about the PY, right? But
yeah,
people know like I talk about in the documentary, like there were certain struggles that I had to go through me personally to just try to make it to the fucking studio all the time
yeah,
during school hours, after hours, while you weren't even there. You feel me? And so like my dedication to the PY was beyond the 3 to 7 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays that I was getting school credit for.
yeah.
But when I was talking about it, like it was also hitting me, and I was like, damn, fool, like you feel me? So it kind of got me reminiscing, not in the moment, but like after when I had time to reflect, because I want to go kick it with Soul right after.
Hmm.
And I was just chilling in the spot. I was like, damn, dog, like a lot of the shit that gets forgotten about because we think about is the cool and the good memories. And there was a lot of good memories. Fool. Don't
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to make it seem like there was like fucking I had to survive tidal
Mhm.
waves and shit to get to the P word. Not, but it was like it was a struggle,
It was a
dog, and
struggle, yeah, for sure.
it was a fucking struggle, dog, and it made me realize like damn fool, like I was really fucking out there, dog, like at 11 p.m. fool. I remember when we protested and I got home at 6 in the fucking morning, fool. 6 in the morning on my 18th birthday. I didn't even get to see my mom, my dad, dog.
Man,
Like,
but
cause my when I left to school that morning, it was still January 7th, fool. So boom, So when I got home, it was already my birthday, fool. But like, I was out there fucking celebrating, not celebrating, but I was out there protesting with the whole fucking PY, dog.
that's
Like,
fucking crazy.
and so when I think about that fucking pain of not sleeping, dog, the pain of missing the bus, fool, or having to walk home at 1 in the morning, fool, because the fucking metro gets delayed, fool, like that shit right there, dog. Like it fucked me up. If I'm not gonna lie to you, dog, it fucked me up. But it was dope
Man.
to hear like the whole shit they're making a documentary. And so when I seen that clip, I was like, get the fuck out of here, dog. This was out here, uh, this was out here swimming and shit. Like that was dope,
Yeah,
man. Or surfing. So
yeah.
what is like the timetable for this documentary, dog? Like what is it? Like is there a expected date to be dropped, or is it just are you just going with the flow?
No, we don't have a definitive timeline right now. But I do have a meeting with Jeanette coming up like in the next week or two. So
Come on, dog. You know I'm very
I
I'm
wanna I wanna try to get it done like by the end of this year, you know?
I'm always trying to write spoilers on the side and shit. Like, oh, this fool will drop in in
Yeah,
February
like
15th.
yeah, because we do have work to do. We still like I said, we have to film a couple more scenes. Um so yeah, I mean there's not a definitive like, oh, we're gonna get it done by this day. That's the conversations that I need to have with, Jeanette and everything, and scheduling of other shoots. But hopefully I want to get it done this year. And then who knows? I mean, maybe by the end of 2024 we can premiere it. Have like a private screening of it, and then I think that would be awesome. But you can't put sometimes you can't put a date on a creative process. It's like creating a music album.
Yeah.
You can't really like put a date
Yeah.
on it. You just have to create and put your best foot forward.
Simon. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so
best way to put it.
yeah, but I am gonna meet with Jeanette next week. I'm actually gonna call her tomorrow, and because we've been like emailing each other, texting for the last like week or two. Um, I know she wants to get this done too, so we're gonna get on the same page.
The last segment that I want to talk about is your future. So I don't really do this. I have never done this, but for you specifically, because you were my mentor, dog, and I was there when what was your position? Outreach specialist?
Yeah, I was the outreach specialist like back in the day, and then I gave my like later on as I grew into the position, I gave myself the title of like director of outreach.
And
you
so he
know,
became the director of outreach, and then now you're
and then
the
they and then after the director of outreach, I became the associate director, and then after the associate director, I became the executive director in 2020.
It's been 4 years since you became the
Yeah.
executive director, my boy.
Yes. Yes.
What has been a good thing and what has been a struggle?
Man, well, the first big struggle was like right after I became the executive director, like COVID hit. So we had to deal with COVID for like a whole year and a half, and like obviously like no organization had ever dealt with something like closing all the facilities and doing everything virtually. So that was a major struggle, because we had to shift everything. We had to go virtual for all of our programs, and like we but the good thing that came out of that is that we started a food distribution program in the Pico neighborhood. So I would say that that's like a positive that came out of COVID was the food distribution program in the Pico neighborhood. We called it Pico Cares, and we did that for like almost 2 years. So that was a positive that came out of COVID. So I really want to, I would say that that's like a good victory. And reconnecting with the community, the Pico neighborhood, which kind of leads to this story. This whole documentary kind of leads back to the Pico neighborhood and where I come from. So it is like a full circle.
What is what is what is next as the executive director besides the documentary?
Next for me is like building more partnerships, more institutional partnerships, like partnerships with Santa Monica College, UCLA, um, and even the city of Santa Monica. I'm actually meeting with the city manager uh on March 12th. So we're gonna talk about different opportunities and projects that we can work on together. And maybe we can even get refunded by the city of Santa Monica. That would be a major step forward. So like those discussions are gonna start next month. So that's what I look forward to. And also another thing I look forward to is obviously like starting this PhD program at UCLA, hopefully in September. And I'm pretty sure that that's gonna make the documentary.
Being a PY alum, when I went there, completely different, right? There's a gang of recording studios. There's film equipment everywhere. What is currently going on at the PY right now?
Yeah, so we have a robust film program. We actually two of our film students from the Samo High they're working on projects right now. One of them is called Chasing Daylight, which is Chasing Daylight is about four teenagers that are kind of like, we had a discussion earlier today about, how do you define family? And sometimes it's like our family comes in different forms. It could be like our friends that are people that we choose to be families. And that's kind of like the story of Chasing Daylight. This young woman, I should say student, her name is Genesis Santiago. She developed this film in our program. She wrote the script for it, and developed this project at PYFC through our film fellowship program this past summer, and she shot it. She shot it in August, and now the film is complete. So in the next couple, hopefully by April, we're gonna be able to premiere it like at a private screening. And she wants to do a film festival run, so we're gonna submit it to different film festivals. And I'm hopeful that she wins a couple awards, because it's really a great film. And this week we actually shot another short film. One of our students, Alex Petrovsky, he shot a short film called it's called, what is it called? Not The Cult, but it's like called The Following or something like that. And so he just shot it like 2 days ago, basically. And right now he's just started like editing it. So in the next couple of months we'll be able to premiere those two films. And also like for our music program, we're doing all the score for these two films. So that's powerful. So we try to combine our music and film program as much as possible, and we want to involve like the music students with the film process as well. And we're doing that, So I mean, we could only go up from here, And I think we're gonna. One of my goals this year is also to like expand. I want a bigger, more modern office. So I'm looking for an office, a bigger office right now, and it might be somewhere close by, But that's I don't want to give away too much because
Nah, G, you gotta drop the
but
411 right here, dog.
I'm manifesting it, because
Burn out the spot.
yeah, exactly. So I'm working on it right now.
Bro, tell those film kids, hey, O3 music video, dog. Next project.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it because
In the
yeah,
alley,
like
dog. Fuck it. Fool on some
in
gangster
the
shit.
in the alley. Yeah, we can do it in the alley.
That's dope, bro.
Well,
Like, it's cool that the PY is still, like doing his thing. No more compilation albums.
we have a playlist. We have a playlist on Spotify. I gotta put you up on it. I gotta send you the link. And we gotta. I think Darren might have talked to you about adding some music to the playlist. You know,
He told me
because
about doing a performance somewhere. This was a couple months ago, though.
okay, okay, I'll talk to him again because I wanted to add your music to the playlist as well. Because that's our new form of like a compilation album is like this playlist.
That's dope.
Right now it's like 30 songs deep.
Well, whenever I have chance, fool, like whenever I'm in the area on Tuesdays, I'll stop by.
Yeah,
We'll chop it up a little bit more.
yeah, definitely.
But my final question to you, Alex, to end the plática, is the one question I always like to ask my guests, because this is the introduction plática. I want our pláticas to be recurring. We're slowly building a network here.
Mhm.
Right now we're probably like a couple heads deep, but have a plática about the documentary when it drops. We'll have a plática about fucking something else. We'll have a plática about random shit like movies some other time. But at least for this
Yeah.
introduction plática, I want to end with this question: Is if you could talk to your future self, what would you ask him?
I would ask myself, are you happy? And what would you like to accomplish?
Boom. There it is, dog. There it is, my boy. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for pulling up to the plática Friday night, recording it Friday night. I know, it's probably busy being the executive director, but thank you for taking time out of your night to do this podcast episode with me.
It's
Um,
my pleasure. My pleasure, my honor.
I know we
Um,
recorded another one a couple years ago, but I deleted all those episodes. Like I said, I was
mm,
going through it. I was gonna, that's for a different story. But
yeah.
I was always a pleasure chopping it up with you, even if it's off camera. Like the other day when I pulled up, even if it was for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I gotta get this for Alex on the podcast. So thank you. Um,
Th- Thank you. I really appreciate it, man.
and for the next one, it might be next week, it might be 2 weeks from now, it might be 100 episodes from now. I don't know.
Mm.
I'll keep you in the loop. But any final words?
Man, just stay positive. Stay positive. Stay blessed. Um, just there's so much. So much inspiration in this world, in this universe. So like just whenever you're in a dark place, you just think of like try to be in a quiet space and think of something positive, and try to get through it, because life is hard, and it's we just can't beat ourselves up so much, like don't be so hard on yourself, just embrace life for what it is, and roll with the punches.
Perfect. Perfect final words.
And
Thank you again, Alex. And if you're listening and watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video, when I go live. I see y'all when I see y'all. Don't forget to love yourself today, all right? Adios. Stepping out the door with some fresh 90s, the old whites, the drips nice. Yeah, I'm icy, but I don't wear eyes. Still a fool that looks fly. Got my button down on.